I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is a woman named Donna Adelson, who was living a very nice life in South Florida until her daughter got divorced. Then things got very ugly and ended with a murder. Here's her story. Law professor and devoted father of two, Dan Markel, was involved in a bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Vinnie Politan. Vinnie wanted to move with the kids from Tallahassee, Florida to South Florida to be closer to her mother, Donna, her father, Harvey, and her brother, Charlie. And after Dan Markel was gunned down in his driveway in 2014, that's exactly what she did. Investigators were able to track down the gunman, Latin King gang member Luis Rivera, and his friend Sigfredo Garcia. But why did these two men kill Dan Markel? Investigators would come to find a connection. Sigfredo Garcia's longtime girlfriend, Catherine McBanawa, had once dated Vinnie Adelson's brother, Charlie. And after the murders, Catherine was collecting cash, checks, and gifts from Charlie. Authorities determined this was a murder for hire orchestrated by Charlie Adelson. And after wiretaps, undercover operations, and a murder trial, Charlie Adelson has now joined Catherine McBanawa, Sigfredo Garcia, and Luis Rivera behind bars. And now, Charlie and Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, has been arrested and charged with being a part of this plot. What is her role in all of this? And will she soon join her son, serving the rest of her life behind bars? What a tragic story. What tragic allegations here. You're talking about a woman putting out a hit, according to prosecutors, on her grandchildren's father, to have those children grow up without a dad. So after her son, Charlie, is prosecuted and convicted, then all of a sudden, Donna and her husband, Harvey, the grandparents of the children, the mother and father of Vinnie and Charlie, go to the airport on their way out of the country to Vietnam. Then this happens.
Hi, how are you? You have an ID? I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you? This is evidence. She's under arrest. I have to go with. I have to go. I have to go. You don't have no choice. Let me help you out. I have to stay. Please don't do this. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags. Yeah. You need to wait outside. Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't come with me.
Please, can I help? No, you can't join me there. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's got to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is
Can you hold on to that for me?
Is that okay with you?
Please. You don't have that, you can't push that. She's not going anywhere. Please. Please. Do you have anything in your pocket?
No.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No,
Plus, you have a necklace on. You
Wanna
can
go?
take it off.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah. And the earrings, the rings, take everything. You give it to your husband. Because once you arrive at County Yale, they're gonna make you remove all that.
Can I call my attorney?
You have a passport ready?
Where am I going?
Open your finger.
Where am I going?
You're going to the Dade County jail.
Dade County Yale.
You're making a mistake. No mistake. It's two mistakes.
Did
Can you get this off?
So the next place is what? The warrant? What did you say? What did you say the next place was?
Well, see, what happened is the warrant that they have from you is from out of Leon County.
When did they issue a warrant?
So what happened is we have to take you to our warrants room for that information to get entered, and then after that gets entered, before we can take you to the jail, to the local jail.
Okay, because I I didn't know there was a warrant. How would I know that?
Well, we wouldn't have been able to take you if there wasn't something in place.
So aren't they supposed to inform? Aren't they supposed to inform me if there was a warrant?
Well, I don't know the details.
I don't either.
They had a warrant. The gentleman that you met earlier in the plainclothes.
Yes.
Right. And they were supposed to inform you of whatever. And then because it's a county warrant, that's how we became involved.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, it is clear she didn't know about the warrant. She knew about Charlie's conviction. I think she knew the heat was on. But that brings us to our first question as she's arrested at the airport on her way to Vietnam via Dubai, I believe. Was Donna Adelson trying to flee the country? And when I say flee the country, I mean flee the country to get away from law enforcement, to never come back. Joining me tonight to help answer this question and more, Palm Beach County State Attorney and Dan Markel's friend Dave Arenberg is with us, and attorney and YouTube creator Carl Steinbeck also with us. Great to have you both here. Dave, is it that obvious, or is there a little more nuance here to whether or not she's trying to flee the country?
Vinnie, she bought a one-way ticket, and we know from the jail calls with her son that she was either going to find a country that was a non-extraditable country, someone who doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States, and neither United Arab Emirates or Vietnam have those treaties, or she was going to kill herself. And so in the context of that conversation, plus the fact that she bought one-way tickets, yeah, you could say she was trying to flee the country.
All right, Carl, Dave mentioned this phone call, and I want to play this. This is Donna Adelson making a jailhouse call. I think everyone knows the jailhouse calls are recorded, but apparently during the course of this call, Charlie, who's incarcerated, his call sort of drops off, and apparently Donna is still being recorded but speaking to other people who are in the room with her. Let's take a close listen to that.
The other thing I don't understand that my daughter could help me with, but we've been looking it up over and over, because things change if there is extradition from Vietnam. Because we've looked at all the places. I mean, I could go to Korea and China, but there's no extradition. But we're looking for places where there's no extradition. Maybe she knows about. Maybe she can look up the extradition issue before we waste our time.
Is she going to tell on you that my parents are leaving the country? My lawyer told us to do that. Okay, but if you mention it to Wendy, is Wendy going to tell?
You tell her beforehand. I need to tell you something as an attorney who doesn't talk and has nothing to do with the case. It just has to do with Mom and I and some decisions that we have to make. Yeah, I know you want to bring her up and show her where everything is. Because in a plane crash, no one's going to know where anything is or who belongs to what. So I would like her to come up here so she could see it. I don't think that's asking too much.
Carl, this is pretty unbelievable. This is, you know, she's not having the conversation with Charlie. She's speaking with people in person, but it's all being picked up on this call. Seems clear that she wants to be out of the country in a place where she could never be brought back.
Right. There's no doubt, Vinnie, that she is actively looking to flee the country. Keep in mind, this is only a few days after her son, Charlie Adelson, was convicted of the murder of Professor Dan Markel. So she's in a panic mode, and she needs to get out of there because her days are numbered, she fears, and talks with her lawyer. He also apparently indicated that her arrest could be imminent. So she's in a desperate effort to get out of the country. She's going to leave those grandkids behind. Keep in mind, the ones she was willing to kill for. So the murder plan has really been imploding fast these last couple years, and there's more Adelsons to arrest, no doubt.
You know, Dave, as I listened to her, and she's talking about Wendy, right? Wendy has never been charged. She's been basically a witness against everyone at every trial with her limited immunity. But here it seemed like Donna didn't even trust Wendy to ask her about which countries don't have extradition, because she was afraid Wendy might tell investigators, might tell authorities.
Yes, and I think up until that point, she thought that her son Charlie would get away with it. And after he was convicted, it was all hands on deck. As Carl said, it was panic mode, and she is not trusting even Wendy. At least that's the theme of that conversation. So she's panicking, which goes to the point that she was trying to flee the country. This was not some preordained trip with round-trip tickets to do a sightseeing venture. This was a way to get out of Dodge as soon as possible.
Carl, I look at all the steps that she has taken, and the evidence is going to be used against her. Like, not bright enough to purchase the round-trip ticket and just not use the return. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's just one of many missteps that's going to help get her convicted. This was not well thought out. They don't have experience planning murders. They spent a lot of time doing this, many, many months, over a year planning this. But even that meticulous planning had many missteps, many botched efforts. And this is one of them. And it's definitely going to come back to bite her, because there will be a jury instruction on flight to avoid prosecution indicating consciousness of guilt. So that's another key takeaway that the jury will have to come back with a speedy conviction for murder.
All right, my guests are staying with us. Coming up next, where was Donna on the day of the shooting?
I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it.
Did she ever believe that she was ever going to get away with it?
A renowned snake breeder is shot and killed at his breeding facility.
He was like the Johnny Depp of pythons. The guy was amazing.
Lindley recruited an old boyfriend to shoot Ben.
Michael got too nervous, so he handed her the gun and she actually killed him.
I did not want him dead.
If the devil was a person, I believe that was her.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. All new Sunday night, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me.
What a moment there. Wendy Adelson, who was separated from her husband, Dan Markel, at the police station, being informed that her ex-husband has been shot, the father of her children, and there she is calling Donna from the police station to inform her that Danny has been shot. Now, we know where Wendy was that day. She was at her place getting her TV fixed, and then took a drive to the liquor store to buy some Bullet bourbon, and then went back home and was supposed to go to some party that night. But that brings me to my next question. It's all about Donna. Where was Donna on the day of the shooting? So while Dan Markel is being murdered by 2 hitmen, where is the woman who, according to prosecutors, is part of the plot? Where was Donna that day? Still with me, Dave Arenberg and Carl Steinbeck. Carl, what do we know about the day of the shooting? As all this is happening, where is Donna? What is she doing?
Right, Vinny, she would have been down in South Florida at one of their residences. I think this was a key day. This is, after all, the day that the Geek Squad was showing up to Wendy's residence to check on this supposedly broken TV that the boys had thrown something at. So this was all the setup to create the alibi so she could have a justification, because they had a several-hour window where the Geek Squad was supposed to show up. So this is something that Donna had set up with the original Geek Squad appointment. And so she was on the phone and also via texting to various people. So she was integrally involved in making sure things were going on, and the co-conspirators were actively engaged in communicating and knowing what's going on this particular day. Because after all, Dan was shot right after 11 o'clock that morning on the 18th of July.
Now, I want to take a listen to Charlie Adelson and Catherine McBanoa talking about the night of the shooting now. This is another important part related to Donna and what her involvement may or may not be. Let's take a listen.
Did your parents drop off money to you on the night of the murder?
I never saw my parents there. You could look at our cell phones and you'll find that out, that we never saw each other.
I did look at the cell phones, and what is on there is your mom texts you, quote, outside your house. And
no, I mean, look at the tower information.
I think you testified that that meant she was just passing by on the roadway.
She was approaching the area, yeah, to see if I was home.
All right, and do you know what your response was to her text?
Yeah, like 20 or 30 minutes later, I said 10 minutes.
I'm 10 minutes out, is what you said.
I think I said 10 minutes, but yeah, I'm not home.
Doesn't that indicate you're going to meet them at your house in 10 minutes?
No, I told her to let me know when you're going to be in the area.
Was the money that Catherine McBanoa got damp?
I never gave her any money that was damp. The money I gave her came out of my safe.
Was it damp?
No, I took it out of my safe. I put it on the dresser. She put it in her purse.
Was the money damp?
Yes, ma'am, it was. I believe his parents or his mom might have washed the money.
You mean like physically washed the money?
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you think his mom did it?
Because he was always adamant about telling me he didn't have any money in his house. And he told me that his parents had just stopped by right before I got there. So all of a sudden he had money to put in the trunk of my car.
All right, Dave Arenberg, trying to put together the pieces here, right? And Catherine McBanoa, she's the woman who puts together this whole hit. She's the go-between between the hitman and Charlie Adelson. She's saying that Donna is stopping by Charlie's the night of the murder. What do you think, and what are your thoughts about where Donna was during the day and during the night of this murder for hire?
You know, I don't know exactly where she was during the day. I think it's unusual interesting that they all referred to the hit allegedly as the TV. Like the whole scheme was referred to as the TV, and that was the TV repairman who was coming over to Wendy. But what's really interesting is the fact that the money was wet, because according to Catherine McBanoa, it looks like Donna took money laundering literally. And as Carl said, the prosecution's theory is that these are amateurs trying to do this intricate murder for hire scheme. And so you'd have someone like Donna who would have to pay the money because Charlie didn't have money in his house, and she would try to wash it all off, wash it to the extent where it grew mold on it. All this is really bad for Donna. This is part of the key evidence against her, because we don't know where she was during the day, but according to those text messages, she was dropping by Charlie's house that night to pay off the money that was meant for the hitman.
Okay, Carl, let's try to put the pieces together here in connecting Donna Adelson to this murder for hire. Whether it's the payment, the communications, what is going to be key here for prosecutors in tying Donna to the murder that day?
Well, the key components of the evidence against her, I'd say, Vinnie, are the fact that she's so integrally involved in the communication, the hours before and after the murder, including the evening, including the money drop. And she also was very much involved in spurring up the hatred of Dan, getting her son Charlie fired up to go find the hitman, to go actually do the job. So she was a very key player. She was the main verbal force behind this. Wendy was more behind the scenes, knowing how to push buttons on her mom to get her mom to go do the follow-on work with Charlie. So, and if you look at what she did in the email she sent, talking about what hatred there was and how bad she wanted to win this custody fight against Dan Markel, it was really like, it was almost like these kids were her kids and not Wendy's kids. And yet, you know, they were losing badly in court, and Wendy was facing loss of job and problems with the state bar. So Wendy's life was about to come crashing down in very short order in the coming weeks. And so out of the move of desperation, you know, they had to move up the execution plan. And so she was also involved in the communications with Charlie Adelson when the bump happened, the undercover law enforcement, and she actually admitted in there this had to do with you and me when they're trying to talk in code. And nobody talks in code unless they think law enforcement is listening in. So that also is a great data point that the prosecution will use to show that she actually wasn't fearful this is some kind of another extortion effort, as the defense claimed in the Charlie Adelson trial.
Dave Ehrenberg, you are the prosecutor. How is there a problem here because Donna Adelson is older, because she's the grandmother, or does that play into the prosecution's case here?
Yeah, it's always a problem when you could get sympathy from a jury. And I think that video of her about to flee could gain some sympathy. She's talking about her 80-year-old husband. I didn't like the part where she's grabbing the phone. That doesn't make her look good. But yes, you have to worry about that as a prosecutor. But in the end, the theory of the case is that Donna wanted these kids in South Florida because she detested the son-in-law, Danny, and Tallahassee. Well, this is going to be a Tallahassee jury judging a woman from South Florida who hates their community.
All right, Dave Ehrenberg, Carl Steinbeck, thank you so much for your help. All right, there's a lot more to get to. I'm Vinnie Politan. As always, we'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues. I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of Donna Adelson, a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. But it was her role as a mother-in-law which got her into big, big trouble. Here's her story. Charlie Adelson's sister, Wendy, was going through a bitter custody battle with her ex, law professor Dan Markel, and wanted her children to move to South Florida from Tallahassee to be closer to her family. Charlie convinced his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Catherine McBanoa, to get her ex, Sigfredo Garcia, to murder Dan. Sigfredo, with the help of his Latin King buddy Luis Rivera, drove over 400 miles from South Florida to Tallahassee to murder Dan. Charlie was convicted at trial. So were Sigfredo and Catherine. Luis pleaded guilty. And now Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, is getting ready for her trial, also charged with being a part of this murder-for-hire plot that left her grandchildren without a father. So crucial to all of this is Donna Adelson's role in everything. And it's not just Donna Adelson's role in this alleged murder for hire. Well, it's a murder for hire, but her alleged role in all of it, but also her role in the lives of her children. So I want you to take close listen here to Wendy Adelson. She's on the stand, but the prosecutor talking to her and talking about an email involving her mother, Donna. All of this should shed a little more light on everything going on in these lives.
Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Did she have an interest in who you were dating and who you weren't dating and who you should be dating when you were single?
I think she was usually disappointed that I wasn't dating more.
Okay. For example, isn't it true that she would, not let you drive to and from Tallahassee to South Florida?
Well, I used to drive before I had the boys, but they were young, and she preferred to come with me and give me some extra support.
So what would that look like if you were going to take a trip to South Florida? Would they come up here and get you, or?
No, sometimes I would go myself with the kids, but I was breastfeeding both of them, so it usually looked like me breastfeeding a child while I entertained the other in the Okahumpka rest stop. So it was a lot. It was helpful to have some backup.
Wasn't it true that around the time of the death, they were still doing this practice where they would prefer to drive you to and from South Florida?
I mean, not every time, but sometimes.
Okay. And would your mom sometimes enlist your brother Charlie to convince you to do certain things in your personal life?
Can't really think of an example of that.
Well, dating Dave was a big one on some of the materials I had.
Yeah, people like Dave.
All right, and your mom really liked Dave.
Yeah, everyone liked Dave, but we were just friends.
Okay. Did she try? So she would try to get Charlie to convince you to date a certain person.
I don't think she was getting Charlie to convince me to date Dave. I think everyone liked Dave.
All right. And would she try to get Charlie to convince you to do certain things as far as your professional life? What jobs to take?
No, I don't think so.
Do that. Would she try to get Charlie to do certain things like advise you on investment decisions, whether or not you were going to buy a house, for example?
I don't think so. I don't remember that. Danny and I made that decision together.
Once you had left Dan and you were living separately, did you look into purchasing a home here in Tallahassee?
I did, yeah.
And did your brother Charlie convince you not to do that?
I don't remember him convincing me not to. The only reason why I didn't was because I was waiting on the money from Danny from the settlement, and he didn't pay it, so I couldn't afford the house.
And your mom didn't want you to buy the house, did she?
That's not true. My parents were looking to buy a house in Tallahassee as well.
Really interesting there, right? Wendy Adelson admitting some things, denying some things when it comes to her mother, Donna. Which brings me to my next question. And of course, it's about Donna. How overbearing was Donna? To what level was this mother in her children's lives? It's important when it comes to the case. Joining me, co-host of Surviving the Survivor podcast, Joel Waldman knows a whole lot about this story. And of course, psychotherapist, host of Talking Live and the Bite Size podcast, Dr. Robbie Ludwig with us as well. All right, Joel, how overbearing was Donna?
I know a fair amount about the case and a lot about an overbearing Jewish mother, because I have one who co-hosts the show with me. In short, Vinnie, extremely. And when things started to go south in their marriage, you will see in this upcoming trial in the next week or so, emails from Donna to Wendy basically saying, let's go after this guy. We know his weak points. He's sensitive about money. He's sensitive about religion, and was really kind of prodding and poking at Wendy to say, we got to get under this guy's skin. So we got to get the kids, my grandkids and your children from Tallahassee back to Miami. And wouldn't you look at it now, Donna's up in Tallahassee.
Dr. Robbie, I want to play for you a piece of an interview with Ruth Markel, who is Dan Markel's mother, talking about the beginning of the relationship as we continue to explore this question. Let's take a listen.
Dan graduated from Harvard Law School, and then he went to clerk, and then he went to Washington. So he was always interested in either working in Washington or becoming an academic. And while he was in Washington, a young woman, her name is Wendy Adelson, and she is 7 years younger than Dan, and she wanted to come to Washington and intern. So she did get an internship, and she also found a job, and she found a place to live. And the next thing was to meet somebody. So Wendy Adelson and her mother, Donna Adelson, went on J-Date, that's the Jewish dating service, and they selected Dan Markel, who was in Washington and highly regarded, as a choice for her to date.
Okay, Dr. Robbie, what are your thoughts here? You got Donna going on with Wendy on J-Date to pick out Dan as someone that she should date. How Does this connect to our question, how overbearing was Donna?
Yeah, so I certainly know about overbearing mothers as well, but I think what we see here is a merging. So Donna was very much merged with her daughter and wanted her daughter to marry somebody she thought was appropriate. There was no separation between Donna and her daughter. And it's probably something her daughter wasn't even that much aware of, because she could have seen her mother as somebody who just wanted what was in her own best interest and could have been blind to it. But this is not what a healthy mother should do. A healthy mother should encourage their daughter to choose a great partner, but it should be an independent activity, not a joint activity, unless the daughter is asking for help.
Joel, what are your thoughts about the way the relationship actually began with Donna going on J-Date with her daughter to pick someone out here?
I guess you could say it's unusual. That's one word, or highly dysfunctional. Everyone refers to them, and Robbie can speak to this, of course, much better than I, about an enmeshed family. But look, Wendy isn't the only one dealing with Donna. So was brother Rob, who is estranged from the family. He wanted to marry an Indian woman, and Donna said, absolutely not, will not happen. You will marry a Jewish woman. At the same time, she's sending Wendy Adelson emails saying, let's dress your kids up in Nazi uniforms to really turn Dan Markel off. This is a woman who's really unhinged, and her words are going to come back to haunt her. By the way, there's word that Rob Adelson could possibly testify. There was a closed-door hearing about this on Friday.
Okay, Joel Waldman, Dr. Robbie Ludwig staying with us. When we come back, here's another question. Did Donna care more about the custody case than Wendy?
I want you to answer the question. What was the most important part
of the divorce for my mom?
Yes.
It says here that for her it was relocation.
One of the most successful true crime TV shows ever.
This is crazy.
Now has a new home on America's original true crime obsession, 48 Hours on Court TV. Coming up next on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
This is terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial begins next week, only on Court TV.
At the time of Dan Markel's murder, were your parents extremely angry with Dan?
At that point, no. They were in a much better place.
Wendy Adelson talking about her parents, including her mother, Donna, that no, she wasn't angry with her ex at the time her ex was murdered. Well, prosecutors think things are a little different in all of this. Wendy Adelson testified in several of these trials already in the case. I want you to take a listen here. This is an email from Donna to Wendy, and the prosecutor's going through this on the stand. Really insightful.
Those emails between you and your mother?
I don't think I responded. I think they're just emails from my mom to me.
So that paragraph, isn't that paragraph going into detail about how the issues surrounding your divorce and litigation is financially impacting in a negative way your parents' business?
That's what my mom says here, yes.
Okay, and it also says, additionally, this loss of income affects my family because my older brother, also a dentist, purchased the practice from my father in mid-July 2012. He has a monthly payment to make to my father based on the sale of the practice. It isn't fair to him to have decreasing monthly income statements from the practice due to my parents spending so much time here in Tallahassee. So this is an argument that your mom is proposing, right, to help you, give you an idea of what might persuade the courts to allow the relocation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that's what she was doing, yes.
Okay, and she's indicating that both your parents as well as your brother have suffered financially as a result of you not being able to relocate.
Yes.
It reads, however, the rest of your life and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's, will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You need to be a good actress you can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. Who's Jibbers?
Jibbers, she's referring to Danny.
And was Jibbers a name he went by or just something you called him behind his back?
Jibbers was a silly nickname that I gave him during the divorce proceedings when he was being pretty scary and threatening, and it kind of made me feel less scared of him.
Okay, so not something you called him to his face?
No.
But that was a word that was only used to describe him?
Yes, it was a nickname.
Okay. So in this, again, your mom is referencing how everyone's life is being affected by this relocation, including your brother, Charlie. Do you agree with that?
That is what she said, yes.
Donna's very clear in that email. Jibbers, her ex-son-in-law, hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet, which brings me to my next question. I think this is significant. Did Donna care about the custody case more than Wendy? Did Grandma care more about where the kids were than Wendy cared about where the kids were in this whole relocation back to South Florida? Still with me, Joel Waldman and Dr. Robbie Ludwig. It seems, Dr. Robbie, that Donna is very, very invested in this. Is she more invested than her own daughter about the custody case?
It's very possible. My sense about Donna is that she could be very charming and was very successful, but if you crossed her, she was a nightmare to deal with and very controlling and felt entitled and grandiose for things to go her way. I would describe her as a narcissistic sociopath. And it's interesting that Donna chose Wendy's husband with her. So the feeling of betrayal and rage, I think, hit Donna on a very intense level. She felt betrayed. She felt enraged that this ex-husband was also doing this to her, so that her feelings of anger became murderous. And Donna was a person who really felt she was entitled to get her way, and if she didn't, she would do whatever it took to make sure that she would win. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
She's also part of the custody case because Dan Markel was filing motions relative to Donna as well. Let's take a listen to another part of Wendy's testimony talking about that.
What about the one where Dan Markel is asking that your mother not be permitted to have unsupervised visitation with the kids?
My mom never saw that because after he filed that, he then asked my parents to babysit the kids. And my mom baked him banana bread, gave him a hug goodbye. So there was nothing truthful about that pleading that he filed.
And when she laid all those options out in that email to you about other options that you could take to secure the relocation, as far as bribing, you remember that? Converting the Christian children to Christianity, remember that suggestion?
I sure do.
Okay. What did she put in there that she viewed as your most non-negotiable and most important part of your divorce?
I don't know. Do you have something I can see? So you want me to read what she said here?
I want you to answer the question. What was the most important part
of the divorce for my mom?
Yes.
It says here that for her it was relocation.
Did your mom call Dan any disparaging names around this time frame?
Well, I just read them in the emails, but I don't remember them independently.
Okay. Did she call him
Yes.
a narcissist?
Yes.
A bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes.
Bastard?
That I don't remember.
Okay, Joel, a lot to unpack here, right? All relative, though, to whether or not Donna cared more about the custody case than Wendy. I mean, she picked him out on J-Date and is talking about turning her kids into Christians and then also calling him a religious zealot. What's going on here, Joel?
Well, I think it's really interesting. I mean, there is absolutely no doubt that Donna's words are going to come back to haunt her, and I believe there's going to be a conviction in this case because of all this that she was talking about. But the interesting thing about Wendy is she's an attorney, and I just believe that she's been a whole lot smarter about her communications and how she releases them. Even you see this after Charlie's conviction. She basically said she's been advised by her attorney. This is speaking to her mother, not to really respond to the mom. There's been a bit of a falling out, and I think I'm saying that quite lightly, between Wendy, Donna, and her brother, Charlie. Charlie was not happy with her. But just bottom line to your question, it's always been my contention that Wendy was the catalyst for all this. She knew about it. She was involved on a level, but Donna spoke much more loud.
Yeah, Dr. Robbie, what's your reaction in that email where Donna is talking about turning her grandchildren and having them convert to Christianity? Like, she went on J-Date to find Wendy's husband.
Yeah, so I think we see all that matters is winning. And that's where Donna stands. And if Wendy is truly manipulative, look at her mother. Look who she learned from. Just even genetically and environmentally, there's probably more similarities than dissimilarities. And I think you're right. Maybe Wendy is just smarter about covering up. But no, I think Donna would have done anything to get what she wanted. And we see that in terms of a disloyalty even to her own religion, where she seemed to be invested in having Jewish grandchildren and a Jewish son-in-law. At the end of the day, nothing really mattered except for Donna getting her needs met, which was having her grandchildren live near her and her family.
And Joel, at the end of the day, this custody battle and the relocation issue is central to everything here, because Tallahassee is one world, South Florida, 400 miles away, a much different world.
Absolutely. Look, I've made the drive several times, 8 hours or so. And that is what Donna wanted. She wanted her kids here. But there's been rumblings in this ecosystem that is Dan Markel, Justice for Dan Markel, that perhaps there's more evidence linking Wendy to the crime. There's a woman named Sarah Youssef that you will likely hear more about, who went to law school with Wendy, was in her wedding party, and apparently she is now speaking to the state attorney's office. We don't know about what exactly, but it is really interesting. And there's kind of, an anticipation, if you will, building that perhaps it's something related to Wendy.
So at the end of the day, this may not be the end of all of this. Dr. Robbie, what is your analysis of this family as a whole? We have about 15 seconds here.
I think it's really unfortunate. We see the downside of character disorders and how it can be really destructive to families. And it's just, these people had everything. They had status, they had money, they had a close relationship, and at the end of the day, it's all ruined now, which is really tragic.
All of it, and children without a father. Joel Waldman, Surviving the Survivor, Dr. Robbie Ludwig, thank you both so much. I appreciate it. There's no doubt there are some serious problems inside the Adelson family. To start with, Charlie Adelson decided to make his sister's children grow up without a father. I mean, that's cold and sociopathic. So now the question is, did Charlie do this on his own, or was he carrying out the wishes of his mother, who wanted her grandchildren to be fatherless? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for the answers as this investigation continues.